everyone. Welcome to the Sippin' on Stories podcast. I'm Mandy Corey, your host, and I'm so delighted that you're here. You guys, can I just say that we have made it 2 months in this podcast. Today makes 2 months, and I'm just really proud of that. And so thank you for listening and sharing and enjoying these stories along with me. It's pretty cool. Who knows how many more months we've got in us, but I'm hoping a lot. All right, so for today's episode, we have actually one of my childhood best friends. I met her when I was in 3rd grade. I moved to a new town, and she came up to me and just started talking to me, and I don't know why, but I was like, you're kind of annoying me, and I don't know what it is. She told me that she liked my handwriting. I remember this, and she just always told me, oh, I just really love your handwriting. I just really loved your handwriting. And I was like, I get it. You like my handwriting, but like, you're annoying me. So stop telling me. And I don't know what happened. Next thing I knew, our friendship was blossoming. She became my best friend, like ride or die best friend for a long time. I traveled around the country with her. We took vacations together. I was at her house all the time. I spent multiple Thanksgivings at her house. Just became my best friend. So I am really grateful that she continued to tell me how good my handwriting was. In fact, I still think about it when I write. Sometimes I'll have good handwriting. Other times it just looks completely sloppy. And I'm like, Tonya would be so disappointed in this handwriting right now. Like, it's just funny how something from the 3rd grade can still stick in your mind and you'll think about it, even though it's like, she could care less about my handwriting at this point. Maybe she doesn't even remember that is like the initial thing that she told me a lot in the 3rd grade. But I remember 20 some odd years later. So pretty funny. But we actually went quite some time without talking. I don't know, life just kind of happened. I got married, and as it happens, I think a lot of times you kind of just get wrapped up in your marriage and your life. And so, yeah, I don't really know what made us stop talking, but I reached out to her about this podcast and asked if she wanted to come on after she had shared like a little something on Facebook. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to know the details, but would you tell them on my podcast? Like, don't tell me now. Like, I want to hear them on my podcast. And she's like, yes, I would absolutely love any chance to reconnect and talk with you. And I just thought it was so sweet. So I was able to interview her, and I just have to say, since day one of me launching this podcast, she has been like the biggest like cheerleader through it all. I think she posts about it like every single week. She's constantly commenting on any of like the reels or stories that I post. She's always telling me like what her thoughts were on the episodes. Like, she has been a true cheerleader. It's been so fun, and it's just warmed my heart so much every time. So this is just my thank you to Tonya, who is my guest today on the podcast. A little background information. I actually recorded this back in, maybe February. I should go back and look actually when I recorded this. All right. Looks like we recorded it back in March. So just a couple weeks before I launched the podcast. So it has happened a while ago. I'm going to ask her for a new update at the end of this story. And yeah, I'm grateful with how much she's been supporting me that she gets to be a guest. I will also say that my internet during this interview, unfortunately, was not like, it was just struggling. And there was a couple of like hiccups on my end through the interview. Again, as I said last week, this is a learning process. There are going to be some interviews that are just not as good quality as other ones, but I still think that they're worth putting out. So here is Tonya for today's episode of the Sippin' on Stories podcast.
Hi. It's so good to see you.
I'm going to do a little intro to who you are.
Perfect.
Okay, so for today's episode, we have someone very special to me. She is one of my childhood best friends. We have Tonya. You don't care if I use your name, correct?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So we have Tonya, and it's been way too long since we have talked to each other and caught up. So I'm really excited to be doing this with her.
Me too. Me too.
Okay, Tonya. I know I already prepped you for this. What is one of your favorite drinks to have?
You did prep me, so I came prepared. I'm a ginger ale girly, so I like the light soda, the white soda, and today it was ginger ale. So cheers to you. Let me get you some ASMR.
I love it. A ginger ale, really. I am not
Yeah.
really a ginger ale person, actually.
You're not?
No, my husband Britt
What kind of
is.
soda girl are you?
I like Dr. Pepper and Coke and yeah, more of those.
Are you more of like a dirty soda kind of girl? Because that's a thing. Dirty soda.
Oh, yes. Definitely a dirty
You
soda.
are?
Yeah.
I had to ask.
Of course. I like my creams. I like my syrups. So, yeah, I like a dirty
perfect.
soda. Okay, well, I asked Tonya to come on the podcast today to share something that has happened to her fairly recently. So, Tonya, I'm just going to let you talk. I may interrupt you and ask some questions, but I'm just going to let you tell everybody what happened to you.
Oh, perfect. I unexpectedly had the opportunity, I guess we'll call it an opportunity, to give CPR to our gardener who fell when he was here cutting our grass in November. So it was supposed to be a regular day. It was my friend's birthday party and I was getting ready for that. I had literally just turned the water off, so I was still in the shower when my husband came inside, and he had been outside talking to the neighbor, and they saw the gardener fall. They saw him collapse and he hit his head. So Edwin, my husband, knows that I am trained in CPR, so he came inside to get me, and it was super alarming. Like, I don't think I've ever really felt that level of urgency before, if that makes sense, because he told me what had happened and that he wasn't breathing. So I just knew that I had to get out there as quickly as I could. So I got dressed as fast as I could. I just threw something on and I ran outside. And I didn't know what else to do other than just start doing compressions on him. And by the time I had got out there, he was honestly turning a little bit purple. So it was really scary. And he had like this glazed look over his face. So it was really unnerving. And there, I always say that there were two voices in my head, and one of them was like, "Oh my gosh, like you can't do this. Like this is just too much." And he looked like he was gone. And then the other voice inside of me was like, "You know how to help him, get in there and help him." So thankfully that voice was louder, and that was the one that I chose to listen to. So I started doing compressions, and my husband called 911, which was also interesting. They hung up on us because I think they thought it was a prank call. So when we had to make 2 calls to them to actually get them to take us seriously. So I was doing compressions for a minute, and it's more tiring than I expected it to be. So luckily there was a man who was here doing work on our garages, and he was in the military, and he came over and he was trained in CPR too, so he was able to switch with me, and that was comforting too, because then I wasn't doing that completely all by myself. But probably for like the first 5 minutes, it was just me and Manuel is his name.
Can I ask, why were you certified in CPR to begin with?
I did healthcare work. So back in 2016, I think I got my, I was on a journey to maybe become a CNA. I never got that far, but I was a medical aide, and we did have to do classes to learn how to pass out medications. And part of that certification was, to learn CPR as well. So I'm really, really grateful. That wasn't even an area that I had ever planned on going into, medicine. But I'm super grateful that I did, because now it's a skill that I have to help other people out if they need.
Do you feel like you easily remembered what you were supposed to do, or were you kind of like,
Yeah.
oh crap, do I remember this? Was it fairly recent that you
No,
took the class?
it was 2016. I know you're supposed to get recertified all the time, but once I learned that skill, it was just something that I always tried to keep kind of in my mind. So throughout the years, I've just always kind of remembered what you're supposed to do, and I try to hang on to the important information. You just never know when you're going to need it. So I was hoping to never have that experience, but I did. So.
And you said he hit his head, right? Was it on like cement
No.
or?
Yes, it
Okay.
was horrible. He was there to mow the grass, and there was a pathway, and he was on the pathway when he fell, and there was so much grass around him, and he was just kind of in the middle of the pathway, and it's messed up because there was so much grass where he fell, and he hit his head. Like of all the places he could have fell, he smacked his head on the concrete. So there was blood too when I got there. So that was also unnerving. I don't know how to, it's just something when you see a scene like that, it's just it just kind of takes your breath away. But I knew I had to move quick.
Was it a ton of blood or?
No, it was just more kind of spotty. So he did crack his head pretty good actually, but luckily he's all right. So.
And how old is this Gardner?
He's in his 50s. We found out he's actually supposed to be on heart medication, and he forgot to take his heart medication that day. So that's probably why he, I don't know, just kind of passed out. He had a stroke is what they found out. But he just has a serious heart condition, and he wasn't on his medicine. So he stroked out and hit his head.
And your husband, was he like panicked next to you, or was he like calm?
No, he's the calmest. Like I honestly was surprised that I reacted the way that I did. I still look back at it and I'm like, I can't believe I handled it the way that I did, because usually I freak out. But you know me, you know I panic. So you've seen me panic before.
I was going to say, I can feel like I imagine.
Yeah. But luckily I was able to keep a level head, and my husband is always reminding me that you cannot do anything if you don't have a level head. So he has definitely helped me learn how to be more level-headed throughout the years that I've been with him, and I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
How long would you say you were giving CPR for?
Maybe 10 minutes before the ambulance came. And they're literally a block away from us. Like the fire station and the ambulance, I run with my dog past their station multiple times a day. So I think that's why it was frustrating too, that we had just kind of gotten hung up on. And the lady, the dispatch lady, didn't even know what to tell me to do. And I was like, well, good thing I already know what I'm doing, so.
Yeah, that's definitely
there was
weird.
Kind of a lack of urgency with them coming, to be honest with you. But I'm really grateful that they showed up and were able to take over. So,
have you seen the Gardner since then?
I haven't. He was in a coma for a little bit. Like they had to put him into a medically induced coma because when he hit his head, there was some swelling on his brain. So they did have to put him in a coma for, I think, a couple of days at least. And he was able to come out of that. But then his heart was only functioning, I think it was at like 25% for a little while. So we didn't really know if he was going to recover. But luckily he did, and he just got stronger every day. And then he left the hospital after a couple of weeks, and he's been in a rehabilitation center since November when that happened. And the other Gardner, who we see every week to get updates on how he's doing, he mentioned that finally he's learned how to walk and talk again, and he's going to be released in a couple of weeks. So,
well, that's good. Yeah. I'm glad that you had somebody that can like give you updates. Otherwise, I feel like I would be like panicking. Hang on, just a sec. I need to see something. I need to see something really quick. Okay. Speaking of calling 911, when I was setting up my phone, I feel like I accidentally pressed the emergency
No.
dialing. So I keep like
Oh no.
my video keeps like like going fuzzy, and I'm like, uh-oh, are they
Yeah, I
trying to call
see
me
it.
back? But I'm like,
Probably.
I don't know if I actually did, and it doesn't show that somebody was trying to call me, so I'm just gonna hope that maybe it's my internet is going weird or something. But I'm like, oh no, so I just
Hopefully.
needed to check that
I know.
that wasn't happening.
Hopefully they don't show up at your door. That would be something for this podcast.
Yes, and ironic considering the
I
conversation,
know.
but
That's so funny. Hopefully
oh,
not.
I know. Well, good job for you. I feel like, well, I had to do CPR class. I mean, yeah, this was like, let's see. Yeah, probably like 2014.
Yeah.
And I still feel like, I don't know if I'd remember. I would just sing the song and the Staying Alive song
Yeah.
and hope for the best.
I did have that going through my head. I'm not going to lie to you. I definitely
Yeah.
did when I was doing compressions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good though.
And I probably wouldn't press hard enough. So anyway, I think that was really cool.
Yeah, it was an experience that I didn't want to have, but
Yeah.
I'm like
Thankfully it turned
humbled,
out.
kind of. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm humbled in a way to be able to know that I helped him. It's a really good feeling. It's like a warm fuzzy. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's just something that I know is going to stay with me like for the rest of my life.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
well, thank you
for
for
sure.
sharing that story.
Yeah, of course. It's I think everyone should be trained in CPR just because it made a difference for him, you know. And I never thought that I would have to use it. It was life-changing.
Well, Tonya, this has been fun. It's been a long time since I've seen your face. I think about you very often. In fact, just the other day, I was having a conversation with my daughter who's in 3rd grade and was asking all about my friends. And I was like, I met one of my best friends when I was your age. And so when I told her I was recording, I was like, I'm going to talk to Tonya. She's the girl I was just telling you about. So she's like, I need to see what she looks like. I know. So it's very
I know.
sweet.
I can't believe it's been so long. Honestly, talking to you is just like picking up my favorite book right where I left off.
I will talk to you soon.
All right. Bye, Mandy.
Bye-bye. Okay, so my question to you is, have you ever had to call 911? If you would have asked me like a month ago, my answer would have been, nope, never called 911. That just kind of seems a little intimidating, and hopefully there's never a chance that I actually have to dial 911. However, interestingly enough, right before I'm about to launch this episode about calling 911 and thinking about, oh, I've never had to do that, I had the opportunity to call 911. So I'm going to tell you that story. So I was sitting in my living room, and I have a pretty big window in my living room that I'll, look out of. The blinds will be open. I'll be looking, and sometimes I'll see things of what's going on in the neighborhood. I'm kind of nosy, so sometimes I'll just peek out, see what's happening, whatever. So it's lunchtime, and I'm just sitting on the couch, and I just kind of look outside, and I'm like, what is that? And it looks like smoke. And I'm just like, is that a fire? So I go closer to my window, and I see this super dark smoke coming from across the way from my house. And I look down and I see flames, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a fire. And I'm trying to decide what is happening. My brain's like, is someone trying to just I don't know. My brain was just trying to come up with a reasonable explanation as to why this area would be on fire. And I could not tell what was actually burning. And actually, it was one of my friend's house. So I'm like, oh my gosh, is my friend's house on fire? And I'm like starting to panic, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm looking, and it looks like maybe it's not their house. Maybe it's the neighbor's house. Maybe it's the house behind them. Can't tell. Is it their yard? Is it the house? Like, I cannot tell. But I'm like, no, like it is on fire and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, do I call my friend? And I'm like, no, I can't call my friend. Like, what's that going to do? That's going to do nothing. Do I run over there? Do I try and like help try and stop this fire? Like the things that were going through my brain at the time. And then I was like, do I need to call 911? And I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to call 911. And this is all happening in a matter of like, a few seconds. So I grab my phone and I call 911 and my heart is just like pounding and racing. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is crazy. I have never called 911. Like, it was almost scary just to even call 911 because you grow up being told, like, if anything's ever an emergency, you call 911. Like, that number is drilled in your head. But it's also kind of drilled in your head, like, you do not call 911 unless it is an emergency. And I'm even debating, like, was I supposed to call 911 in this situation? And I'm like, obviously. And also at this point, like, I can tell their fence, so it appeared to be in the yard, but at this point, like, the fence is on fire and it's right next to their house, and it kind of looked like the side of the house had caught on fire, and the flames were just getting bigger and bigger, and the smoke is like huge, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm panicking because I know my friend is not home, and I care about this friend so much, and I'm like, this, like, no, like, this cannot happen to them, like, they cannot lose their house, like, this cannot be happening to one of my friends. And so I'm like running outside and I'm trying to call 911, and on it, it's like, if you need to speak to a dispatcher, dial whatever, or just stay on the line. So I'm like, obviously, like, I'll just stay on the line. Like, that's fine. And it rang and it rang and it rang and nobody picked up the phone. And I was just like, what is happening? Did I do something wrong? Like, I even double checked my phone. I'm like, did I call 911? Did I accidentally dial some other number? And I'm like, why is nobody answering? Like, this is an emergency. My friend's house is on fire and nobody answered. And I was just like, huh. And later I was like, maybe, I guess I should have like dialed the number that it said me to dial, but it also just said, just stay on the line, which I'm thinking, if anybody else was like in a big emergency, who wants to be then looking at their phone, getting to the number pad and dialing the numbers? Like, no, like, I'm calling because it's an emergency. So just put me through. Anyway, I don't know how many times it rang, but I all of a sudden started hearing sirens, and I was just like, okay, I am assuming that they're coming for this fire, because what are the chances that something else happened fairly close to me that needs the ambulance, the fire truck, whatever, and it's not this fire? But I could not get myself to hang up the phone until I knew for sure that that is where they were heading. And so, sure enough, I could hear the sirens. They were in my neighborhood, and I hung up. But in the end, I had nobody answer the phone. And I am kind of feeling a little bit like, so far this podcast has had multiple people talk about their experience with dispatch. I had my sister talk about when she called 911 and had the dispatcher that was like really rude to her, acting like she was pulling this prank, whatever, and that she just hung up on the dispatcher because she was like, they were so rude to me. And then through this episode, I had Tonya saying that they like didn't believe her either, and they like didn't even coach her on like what she should do. So thankfully, like, she knew CPR. And so I'm like, I feel like so far this podcast is not speaking well about calling 911 and speaking to a dispatcher, because then you have me that's like, they didn't answer. It did not really give me a lot of confidence with calling 911. I'm not going to lie. However, I still believe in the value of calling 911, and I know that that is not everybody's experience. It just so happens that with the 3 talks so far about calling 911, that has been the case. So I hope that this isn't like discouraging you if you ever need to call 911, that you think it's going to be this like awful experience. Anyway, needless to say, somebody must have called 911. That my explanation to it is that there must have just been multiple people in the area that were calling 911, and they must have just seen that I was calling from like the same area. I don't know how it works. I don't know I don't know anything about calling 911 and what they see or what they don't or what they know. But I'm like, that's the thing that I'm telling myself, to be like, no, they just knew I was in the same area that other people had called. Like, it must be that. I don't know. And they never called me back. Which also in this episode, I'm talking about how I feel like I accidentally dialed 911. Like, the fact that I'm talking about that in this episode as well, I'm like, it's just kind of ironic. But I had talked about in the beginning, I was afraid that I had accidentally dialed emergency services. You know how when you press the side of your phone for too long, it like pulls it up. Anyway, I was panicking that I had accidentally called them. And then I kept thinking that they were calling me back because my phone like was going black, but really it was just my internet was terrible. But I was like, for sure that they're going to call me back. But on this situation, they never called me back, which I was also very surprised about, because I'm like, what if it wasn't the fire? I don't know. I'm confused, but I'm just going to say it was a fluke, and that's not how it's going to be every time. Anyway, so the fire trucks come. There ended up being like 4 fire trucks right across the street from me, and they all put out this fire. And I told my kids, I had a couple of my kids home at the time, and I'm like, obviously, like, you're probably not going to see this happen ever again in your life, hopefully, I pray. And so they came and they got the fire out. So we're like watching them like spray down the fire, and they're like, watched them go to the fire hydrant, refill up the fire hydrant, or refill the fire truck with water. Like, anyway, you got to see all the different parts. There were so many firemen there, policemen, like all the things. And so I told my kids, like, you have to come upstairs and see this. And it was actually really cute because one of the firemen ended up seeing us outside, and he came and he brought a little like plastic like fireman's hat over to my kids and got to wear them, and you know, I got a picture. It was cute. In the end, it was just a very unfortunate accident that had happened that had caused a shed and grass and the fence, like all these things to start on fire. But thankfully, no homes were burned. My friend's house was safe and not burned. It could have been so much worse, and I was just so grateful that it didn't go worse. And then afterwards, I was like, whoa, like that was crazy. And my heart was like pounding the entire time, and I was just so worried. I ended up having to ask one of the firemen what had happened, because I couldn't see. I was trying to like keep my distance. You know, I'm not going to like run over while they're trying to take care of everything. But I was, just trying to be like, what did the house catch on fire? Like, just trying to make sure. And so I was able to figure out pretty soon that like, no, house had not caught on fire. But yeah, that was crazy. So that is my first and hopefully only time that I have had to call 911, even though I did not actually end up talking to anybody or anything like that. But still, crazy. I'm just grateful that everything turned out okay. So yeah, I am curious. How many of you have actually had to call 911? And I'm curious what it was for. Like, I didn't think that the first time I'd be calling was because I thought my neighbor's and friend's house was on fire. But that was it. So go ahead, leave a comment and tell me, or just message me. I'm just very curious. So anyway, also back to the episode. Has anybody ever had to perform CPR? I mentioned it, like I did have to take a class to learn how to do CPR, and I just pray that like if that ever happens in my life, that I don't start like panicking and actually know what I'm doing. But my husband, who is a nurse, has done CPR many, many times and broke many ribs in the process and all the things. And I'm just like, that seems so intense, like to be pushing so hard on somebody's chest that you just like break their ribs. And I'm like, that like seems scary. But anyway, obviously like they're saving lives. But I just pray that I never have to have that experience. However, thankfully people exist in the world that know how to do it, can do it, and help somebody. So yes, I ended up asking Tonya for an update on the gardener now that it's been a couple of months, to see if she still knows how he is doing. And she said that he is doing good. He had to learn to walk and talk again, but has since regained that ability. He should be leaving the rehabilitation facility soon, and mentioned to Jose who I'm assuming is the new gardener, that he wants to come back and help him cut grass again. So that was a really good and happy update. Okay, well, this was a little bit of a shorter episode, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again for being here. I can't believe we made it 2 months. I'm just so grateful for everybody that's willing to talk to me, share their stories. I get so much joy out of it. And I will be here again next week to start month 3 of the Sippin' on Stories podcast. Bye, you guys.